Hello, good evening and welcome. It's the 7th of October, Saturday, and we'll start as ever, Commitment of Traders report, and we'll start with the Australian dollar. We've seen a little bit of a sell-off in the dollar over the last three weeks. Nice move down, and we've come down slightly off the highs on the commercials, down to about 80. We've also lost a few of the longs by the speculators. I would have expected quite a few on this move down to have been taken out on stop. Excuse me. Australian dollar, US dollar. As you can see, we've moved off the highs, come down. I'm expecting this to continue down. We're just above the 30.9. And we have a commercial short ratio of 6.6, which is a fair extreme. To be quite honest, it's the largest extreme on the commitment of traders again this week. So we'll expect that just to continue down. British pound. We've seen a sell-off over the last couple of weeks and the commercials have got even more bearish. So we're expecting this to go even further down. It's the most bearish that the commercials have been for the last 12 months, 2-year chart. Yeah, so it's about 12 months, 2 years. Yeah. Okay. Pound US dollar. As you see, it's fallen very rapidly down. I'm expecting that to continue. Don't see much let up in it. We've come down nicely on the RSI. We're well below the 50. And I expect to break below the 30.9. I think this is going to be quite a big move down. Canadian dollar. We've remained as bearish as we were last week, but we have seen a big fall in the price of the Canadian dollar, and so we're just expecting this to continue even further short. The oil price took a big tumble on Friday, so I am expecting this to keep coming down. US dollar, Canadian dollar. Little bit of a reprieve on Friday. So we will expect this to continue. We're past the resistance at the moment, so we'll see where that goes. We've got a 3.7 to 1 short, which is fairly extreme on this particular currency. Euro dollar. Let's get onto the euro. Euro. Yeah, well, we're still holding the extreme position. This is the most bearish that the commercials have been for about 3 years. We've started to come off the highs and we're expecting this to follow through. So if we just go over to the chart. Interestingly, if I go onto a 15-minute chart, right on the last few minutes of trading, we had this nice red candle. That is people getting out of their long contracts. So I'm expecting this to follow through short. Similar thing happened on the Australian dollar, US dollar. So those and also the Australian dollar, Japanese yen. So I'm expecting those to follow through short next week. Short ratio of 1.7 to 1, well below the 50 on the RSI, and just coming down onto support here. So we'll see how that goes next week. Japanese yen. We've seen the Japanese yen fall off a bit over the last 3 to 4 weeks, but we've actually gained a more bullish position by the commercials. Um, this is starting to look a bit firmer, but I still think that the US dollar is going to outrun it for a couple of weeks more. Overall, overall, I think the yen will actually um, uh, go long on the US dollar. But at the moment, I feel the dollar is going to go up higher. We've got a commercial short ratio of 3-1 long, which is slightly increased on last week. So I'm expecting a little bit more upside from this. And I expect that the RSI will actually move above the 69.1. But where it is at the moment, I don't fancy it myself for a short. US dollar index. As you can see, the dollar has slightly firmed over the last 2 or 3 weeks, and we have, as a result, the commercials have slightly come off their bullish extreme. So we haven't got a chart to look at, but I'm expecting the dollar to firm up over the next few weeks. New Zealand dollar. We've come down again off from this recent sort of correction. So we've come down, and it looks like we're going to follow through. The the commercials have held their bearish position this week. Really, not a lot of change on that at all. So I am expecting that just to follow through. We've come down nicely. Could even put a trend line down there, just looking for it to come back up. But I believe this is going to go below the 30.9. It's well below the 50. And at the very worst, this is going to be sideways movement. We've come down below the support. And the commercials now have a ratio of 2.3-1, which is more or less the same as last week. Slightly better, but not a lot. So that's where we are with that. Energies, crude oil. The commercials about the same as last week. Not a lot of change, but we have seen quite a fall in the price of oil. So the fact that they haven't changed, I think we're going to see more downside in the price of oil. And I've actually got quite a fairly big trade there at the moment. Metals. We'll go and have a look at silver. We're still fairly bearish this, and I believe it's going to follow on through short. I actually got out of the trade that I was in. I've got a couple small trades in. I seem to think I was over trading a little bit, so I got out of the silver trade because I thought it might bounce back up. But it broke below the support level, so I think this is going to continue down for a couple of weeks. Just have a quick look at the stocks. S&P 500, where it is at the moment, as my good friend Thomas said from COT base, if you look at a 5-year chart, where it is at the moment is not at an extreme. It's about in the middle ground. So there isn't a clear signal from this, but I just see it as well overbought. In fact, majority of the stocks I see as well overbought. Same with the Nasdaq. So and the Dow Jones. Yeah, the commercials are heavily bearish. The Dow Jones, and the Russell 2000, which had a very unusual shape on it last week. I believe a lot of the speculators got hit on the stop loss, and it just went up too much. So it is now well overbought. exactly what's going to happen. I think it ought to come back down, but we'll see. Okay, well, that's it for this week. Sorry it's been a bit late, but anyway, thank you for watching, and see you all again next week. Cheers.